And Betty, here we are on the South Island of New Zealand, and my goodness sakes, look off there in the distance, and what is it?
Ain't it beautiful? It's Mount Cook.
That's right. Oh, and this is what we've been waiting to see for such a long time.
Is.
How majestic that looks.
Powerful.
Yes,
Just
very,
powerful.
very much so. And, you know, it was kind of hard to spot because there were so many mountain peaks that were all around there. And when the guide says, well, that's it out there.
And then you look at the flat.
Yeah, what a land of contrast,
it is,
isn't it, though?
It certainly is.
You know, and these beautiful big ranches that we're going by, too, are neat. And a lot of these, of course, are where they have sheep and the dogs. And again, I think we mentioned this in the last program. Some of these dogs will cost upwards of $3,000.
And worth every penny of it, aren't they?
Evidently, they must be.
For the work that they do for the you don't call them growers, breeders?
Sheep herders.
Sheep herders. Okay.
or sheep ranchers, I suspect. Now, this particular place where we stopped by the side of the road were cattle, and a lot of cattle that we saw there too in this particular area.
New Zealand is very diversified, isn't it? It has the deer, the sheep, and didn't we hear that they had some pigs, or was that? No, there were, like you say, very, very diversified. And this is a little wagon that was decorated. We stopped at a little place where there's a school and a general store. And sort of like our Veterans Day, we were in New Zealand at the time when they celebrate what would be their Veterans Day there, and all the monuments in the town squares were all decorated, and school children did that too. Wasn't it? Really a nice testimonial.
Now this is a typical little place out there in New Zealand. As you see, the tin roofs, which are used frequently, not only in New Zealand but also in Australia too. And I was asking our guide about that, and I said, why the tin roofs? He says, well, it's a very durable material and it's very inexpensive. He says you will see now in some areas that there are a lot of tile roofs too, but here we see a lot of the tin.
You know, Marv, it's amazing because you go for miles and miles and miles and miles, and then all of a sudden, in nowhere, there's the little restaurant, a little
general store, post office,
and people, a little community-like.
Right.
Sometimes all there is a little bit of a restaurant, and then you move on.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so nice. You know, and as we say, it has that laid-back feeling. I mean, you don't really feel like you're in a rush. And the New Zealanders, or the Kiwis as they refer to themselves, are just delightful, wonderful people.
Yeah, and what fun when you go in those little side restaurants and you get those little meat pies. Then they make them themselves wonderful? And then they stick them in a microwave, and oh man, is that good eating.
You know, I wonder why those never came to the United States. They were not very popular, at least here in the Valley. I think that those little meat pies were marvelous.
So flaky, and then they're right there and they're hot, and it's great. Better than a sandwich anytime.
I think so too. Yeah. I'll agree with you. But these vistas here are just magnificent. You know, again, and I think we've stated this in programs before, and a lot of travelers have told us that who've been to this area and also to Australia. You know, it's like the United States was maybe 40 or 50 years ago. You know, life was simpler. Life was probably a lot more enjoyable in many ways. Don't you think so?
I would guess. But now look, when you see something like, well, not this right now, but before, it looks just like a postcard that you did. You put it up in front of the camera. You're not cheating now, are you, Marv?
No, not quite.
Okay.
No, my camera works a little too bumpy for that, I think. Now, this area where we are in now is sort of the fruit basket of New Zealand, because this is where lots of the fruits and vegetables are grown. In fact, this is the first time, Betty, that I have ever seen a gray pumpkin.
Oh, gray pumpkin.
Have you seen that before?
No, I saw it there, though. I've seen plenty of orange ones, but no.
Well, there's some orange ones that are mixed in there, but look at that, 75 cents for the gray pumpkin. So
now, that's not 75 cents American money.
No, 75 New Zealand cents.
New Zealand cents, yes.
They use the dollar and also cents, too, but the rate of exchange is a little bit different. Again, the tin roof. Now, this was a very nice place. The man that owned this particular establishment was very kind and explained to me these trees. Now, there are peach trees, and I said, now, wait a minute. Yeah. Peach trees do not grow that close together and are not skinny like that. And he says, oh, yes. He says, this started in France, this type of farming, and it is also now in the United States somewhat, but it was also in Canada, and there, of course, in New Zealand and Australia. And they get more fruit off of these trees per acre than the way that we usually plant our trees here in the valley.
I've heard that they are starting that now here in California someplace. They're beginning to plant that way. Do you know it makes sense? They're going to get more sun. They're going to get more wind, more air, I mean. And then look how much easier to pick.
Well, yeah, I think it would be. And so he said, "Oh yeah," he says, we get more fruit off of this than he says you do by farming, with your orchards in the conventional way. So that was something that I learned on this trip. I thought that was very
That was interesting.
neat.
Look, it looks like I'm bargaining, but I'm really not, because I wasn't about to want to eat one.
And I have to say he was very nice to us, because he gave both of us a great big sacks full of wonderful, beautiful, biggest apricots I'd ever seen in my life. Absolutely marvelous. Just really great. But this is a nice place to stop, and it sort of reminds me when people come up through the San Joaquin Valley, and stop at the fruit stands here, the tourists coming from bigger places or other places, as big as the cities or whatever, and here we were doing the same thing. Now, as we were leaving, you can see that there's quite a few acres here that's devoted to this type of farming as far as the orchards are concerned. You see that those trees are so close together, and that they are trimmed just totally different than what we've seen here. But he said the method actually started somewhere in France.
And it's very lucrative. He's done very, very well with it. Yes,
I should say so.
And those are the pretty trees.
Aren't they gorgeous?
Oh, yes.
Just beautiful. Betty, while we're looking at this beautiful area of New Zealand, I think we should probably tell folks that you have quite a few reservations already for our next trip to New Zealand and Australia, right?
Yeah, and I love that. I just love it when it's already sold so far in advance. And they have sent me their deposits, and that's the way it's going to go, because, like I say, I have 20 places. That's all blocked off on the air. Now, land is never a problem, but to get the airspace.
Yes,
so
yes, it is difficult.
First come, first serve.
So if you are interested in going to New Zealand and Australia, and that will be on February the 2nd
yes.
of 1992, we
just around the corner.
Boy, it sure is. I don't know. The older you get, the faster time seems to just slip by.
Tell me about it.
But get a deposit into Betty. $300 per person will hold your place. Betty, this area that we're going through right now, this was a gold rush area in New Zealand, and the Chinese came into this area, and they were a lot of the gold miners, and we're going pretty fast through there, but there are some little rock huts that are off in the distance, and a lot of tunnels in here too.
I found that very interesting. I used to live up in Sonora, which is the Motherlode country, and we saw so much of this up there, of the gold mining, and we had the Chinese there too. Not in my time, but not quite, but all this evidence too of the mining, and they were so clever. They saved their money, and then they went back to China.
Right. Right.
Very diligent, patient people.
Yeah, hard-working, too.
Yes. Oh, Marv, we've got to tell the people my address here so they can write to me if they want to.
We forgot, didn't we?
Yeah, it is 1550 North Fresno Street, zip 93703. Or you can call. Or
you can give a call, that's right. And just to Betty Gerard and the Adventures Travel Club. Or if you want to call, area code 209, the number 488-7443. But we do advise you to get your deposit in, because these spaces are going fast. I'm delighted to see, and not surprised at all, that that there's so much interest in New Zealand and Australia.
Marv, you've done such a good job with this photography that you have made it enticing for people to want to see for themselves.
Well, I'll tell you, you can't go wrong with the photography in either one of those countries, because you just point the camera and it's just beautiful.
I don't believe that. If I'd have been doing the pictures, it wouldn't have looked like that. That's for sure.
Well, we're going to get to a place here which is terribly exciting for any photographer, still or motion picture. And
yes.
Here it is. This is the bungee jumping off place in New Zealand.
The dumbest thing in the world.
I think, Betty, our guide told us that this is where it all started. The fad started right here.
Tell them what bungee is.
Well, a bungee cord is a cord that stretches, and a lot of people use bungee cords for packing things. With the hook
I would
on
never
either
have heard the word bungee.
Oh, really?
Oh,
sure. Yeah. No, use it all the time.
I thought it was a nickname for Benjamin or something. No.
Well, anyway, so it's a stretchy type of a material.
Yeah.
And so now, if you watch here, what they're doing is they're wrapping around the guy's ankles there, and see this great big cord. It sort of looks like a hose because it's so large right there.
Yeah.
That's the bungee cord, and so then that is attached right there to where his ankles are, and then this character is going to go flying off into space.
Man, it's crazy. It's really crazy, and they pay for this.
$85.
I cannot
$85.
believe that.
Can you believe that?
Oh, wow. Besides, it's dangerous.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Don't you think so?
if the bungee cord broke, you'd probably just crack your head on one of the rocks in the river below.
Just break it open, huh?
Yeah, now watch. This guy's getting instructions, and he's going to go. So I want to make sure we got a full shot of this.
Yeah.
So
we're the audience up on the other side.
There were quite a few
his
people that had
friends,
stopped to see this. You know,
Uh-huh.
his friends were cheering him on. I don't know how many beers he'd had before he got up there, but there he goes.
There he goes. Oh, watch it swing now.
Oh, see, he almost hit the water, but not quite.
And then look how he comes back up again.
Isn't that something?
Oh, wow.
That is really, that has to be a thrill.
We sit up there screaming. It was crazy, man.
Oh, I'll tell you. Well, it just keeps bouncing back and forth. But, you know, that's a fast $85, I will say.
Fast?
Oh,
and
my goodness.
I would think the jerk, my God, would knock your eyeballs out or something.
Well, you would think so.
Huh?
Well, they say our guide told us that several doctors who have been on these trips who have watched this say that they don't think that that's the healthiest thing in the world to do because of it can be hard on your inner ear, supposedly.
Think of your spinal cord, all of it.
Well, think of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But look how violent that water looks down there, Betty. You know, that's why I say if that thing broke, you'd be in big trouble.
I think so. Now look how they collect them.
Yeah. Isn't that something with a pole like that?
At least he didn't faint on the way down. He can be rescued.
I wonder if that's ever happened.
Oh, wow. Have a heart attack.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
and 85 American
no,
dollars.
New Zealand dollars.
New Zealand dollars?
Yeah,
okay.
So I don't know what that computed to, but that's still a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, he was really having a real good time off of it.
And Marv was next in line, but when I tried to take the picture, but I didn't do a very good job, so we can't show you. I'm real sorry.
I may be crazy, but I'm not that crazy, I'll tell you. Jumping out of a plane with a parachute, yes. Jumping off of a bridge with a bungee cord, no way, no.
Come on, you know.
I don't think so. When we first got into New Zealand too, they had a place right there in the harbor where you could, where they would bring you up on this great big crane and do the same thing, let you do that.
Wasn't quite as romantic looking as this though. When you go off the bridge down into the water.
I don't think they had many takers there either. Now here's another guy. I don't know if he's a tourist or what, but he's just all set to go. Look at there, and his friends were cheering him on too. So. And
then there was one that changed his mind. He got up there and they started on him, and man, he took off fast.
That's right.
Yeah, he was smart.
Now this guy, if there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, I think this guy does it wrong because look, he goes feet first.
Yeah.
Now watch. Whoop!
Oh goodness gracious, sakes alive! I relive it all over. Wow, look at him being jerked.
Yeah, that's something, but I don't know. I guess it's a thrill either way, you know. I mean, if you go off head first or feet first, but they were all saying that they thought you would have better chances of bouncing up and down more, I guess, if you went head first. I don't know.
Goodness.
Oh, look at that though. Oh. Well, there's another $85. Those guys were reeling that stuff in, weren't they?
Well, it was just fun to have come across that on our journey. So it was just, we were just at the right place at the right time to be able to see this, and it just added to the adventure of the whole trip.
Oh, it certainly does. Well, and that's the way with traveling. You know, there's a lot of unexpected things that you come across, and I think that's what makes it all pleasurable. But boy, look at that canyon. That goes way down there, and there's another bridge down there. But they were just bungeeing off of this particular one, A.J. Hackett Bungee. And I think, A.J. Hackett really had himself a business there.
He had a business, you better believe it.
Betty, there's one of the deer farms out there. Look there. See there the deer?
Now, we have a viewer that called me and said he didn't believe there were deer farms. There it is. That is a deer farm.
That's right.
Isn't it, dear?
The sweetest thing I ever saw. Yeah, no, it is. It was incredible because right next to that, and on the other side, you can see there's sheep over there.
Marv, didn't they start this by they had some deer and they produced so prolifically that they decided then to go ahead and go into the farming of deer?
I believe so. And there's a big call for it too. You know, but if a person were to look on a map and take a look at both the North and the South Island of New Zealand, plus some of the other islands that are out there too, it doesn't look too terribly big when you're looking at like a world map or so. But I'll tell you, these islands are very large. They're very large, and we spent quite a bit of time on that South Island, traveling through it.
But it was a long trip, but we took so many stops along the way that it doesn't seem like it's a long way to go.
No, and the thing is that you drink in all of this beauty and you say, Oh, can there be any more?
Yeah.
And you round a corner and there's more.
Look.
So it's amazing. We're heading now towards Queenstown, and Queenstown is pretty much of a resort area. There are lots of, I think, retired people that live there, but plus there are a lot of tourists that come from all over the world to Queenstown, and a beautiful, beautiful lake that is there. And in fact, we're going to take a trip across the lake on this particular adventure. Because we want to visit a working sheep ranch. Now here we are just coming to the outskirts of Queenstown, and this is just a portion of that lake.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh,
Look at the
is.
blue of the water.
It is so clear and so clean that I think that keeps impressing you over and over again. And the town is not a large town, but yet it's a typical town where tourists would come and shop for all sorts of wonderful touristy types of things.
I found it to be a real tourist town. I didn't think it was as exciting as some of the places we'd been, but still very enjoyable. And you would not want to see it. But it was tourist.
Yep, and I think you're going to find that anywhere in the world, today. So that we did go shopping for various things there, and we're able to find some rather nice buys on different things. And the accommodations were very, very nice. There's lots of hotels, and in fact, in all class ranges here to satisfy, of course, all the different types of tourists that would be coming there.
Excuse me, I was just going to say, I remember I had tried to use the telephone there because I had a call to confirm our reservations. Yeah. I had a heck of a time. That crazy phone system. They finally took my Visa card.
On the phone?
On the phone. They wouldn't take anything else. They finally took the Visa. No money or anything.
Well, when in Rome,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And some of the areas here, you can take a little cable car and go up on top of one of the mountains, and we're going to do that in our next adventure so that we get some absolutely marvelous views. And the time of year, again, we were there in the fall. As you can tell, the colors on the trees are starting to change. And as such, in the mornings it was rather chilly, in the evening it was too, but during the mid part of the day it was nice and warm. So here we are leaving early in the morning to get on our boat to cross the lake and to go over to Walter Peak. And Betty, you're pointing over there, look at that steamer on the lake. Isn't that magnificent?
It was fun. It was early. You look at it, it was chilly. I'm glad we're going at a little bit warmer time now. I had my mittens on and I was ready for the cold.
Well, we'll be going in summertime.
Yes,
summertime nice. for down under, as it were. Wintertime for us up here, of course.
We'll leave the cold from here and go to the nice warm weather. Oh, right. I love it.
And you could even go do a little duck hunting right there.
But you and your birds, I don't think there's ever a picture we've had that you haven't had a bird in it.
Well, there's some beautiful. Look how clear that water is, Betty. Isn't that something, huh?
Look at the rocks in the shore.
Yeah, I mean, usually around a seashore like that, you're going to find, all sorts of garbage floating in the water, but not here. This was just as clear and as clean and as pretty as could be. And look at that.
The colors, that looks just like a little decoy, doesn't it? Except it's moving. A wind-up toy.
Battery operated. Yeah. Well, we're going to get on our little boat, and we're going to head down across the river to Walter Peak. And they also have cattle besides sheep at the farm where we're going to go to. And here's our captain getting everything ready and getting ready to go. And there's some of our adventurers there.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. They had refreshments on board, and which was very, very nice. It's a lot of room too. We were there when there were not a lot of other tourists.
Weren't we lucky that there were so? Because any other time that it would have been completely filled.
Probably so. Yeah. Probably so. So we're taking off, and I think our ride was about 20 or 30 minutes. I think it wasn't too terribly long, but just long enough to give us some magnificent views again of around the lake. And here we're just leaving Queenstown, and if you look off there, there's all sorts of accommodations, as we said before, up there. Some that are rather inexpensive, and some like the terrace thing that you see here.
Not much too inexpensive.
That
there,
is a very expensive place. That's very
Things
expensive.
are expensive, but anyway, our people don't have to worry about that
because
it's all paid in advance.
That's
it
right.
goes with the territory.
Yep, and that's the nice thing about traveling, of course, doing group travel too. You are able to travel very economically that way, and still have very, very nice first-class accommodations. So again, Betty, the trees here, I hope that when we go back that the trees will have as much color as they did at this time of year. They were just beautiful. And I'm sure if we would have been there even a month later, it would have probably all looked like it was on fire, you know, as the trees even became more colorful as
This must be like what it's like when you go back east for the fall colors.
Uh-huh.
Although we have that right here in the fall, our colors, our maple trees and our sycamores turn beautiful, and that liquid amber.
Oh,
my
yes.
neighbor has one. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, you just get a little bit more. Oh, here we
Look
go.
at
There are the
there.
trees there. Isn't that? Now that to me does look like a postcard. And those things just look like they were put there by a gardener, don't they?
Spray painted.
Oh,
Actually, that's what Marv did last night to give you the effect.
Sure,
He went a can of paint and sprayed them.
No, that's really nice. And again, I have to say that the people in New Zealand were so hospitable and so nice. They just couldn't do enough for you. We met a lot of other people from New Zealand that were traveling in these areas too, and they just wanted to visit with you and just have such a nice, good time. Again, as I say, it really reminded you, you know, of bygone days here in the United States when we were a little friendlier to one another and a little more hospitable to travelers and to our neighbors. You can't see all the peaks now because there's a cloud layer this morning that's sort of really covering that. But in our next show, we will get up high and we will be able to see the panorama view clear around this entire lake. Some of the Japanese tourists that were there, and they just had their cameras clicking just as fast as they could.
Where do you see Jim Scott? He wasn't far behind him. Jim is click, click, clicking away.
Well, you want to bring home some lovely, lovely memories, of course, of your trip.
Liz and Jim both have their own cameras, so she does what she wants to do with hers, and he does what he wants to do. So
they have a his and hers?
They have a his and hers, right.
That's good. Betty, one more time while we've got a couple of seconds here, why don't we tell everybody that we are going again in February. And if you'd like to make a deposit, we would like to receive your deposit because it is first come, first serve, and our spaces are filling up rather quickly. No wonder, my goodness sakes, when you see this, a beautiful, you just want to jump on a boat and go again, don't you?
Yeah, and it's a lovely, peaceful setting for a trip.
Right.
And even though we travel a lot, it isn't one of these rush
no,
things.
It's not a hard travel.
It really isn't hard travel at all. No. It's just enjoyable.
Well, here comes our host for the next few hours, and
he's darling too.
What
he's
a
nice
great character.
guy. Real character, very wealthy man, I would assume, because he is the owner.
Oh, he is the owner?
Yes,
oh, I didn't know that. No wonder he had such a smile on his face, huh? And look at all the buttons that people bring him to put on his cap there too. Isn't that something?
I should have given him one of our jackets, huh?
Yeah.
Let's bring one this time, and we'll give him an Adventurers Travel Club jacket.
I think that'd be a real good idea. I think that'd be a real good idea. So we're going to unload here at Walter Peak, and we're going to find out just how sheepdogs really work and learn a little bit more about this type of activity here in New Zealand.
I'm Lindsay, and what we're going to do this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is go quietly up the road to have a look at some Scottish Highland cattle. Then we're going to show you some different coloured sheep, and the dog we're going to use is Tip, T-I-P. Tip, ladies and gentlemen, is 9. She's a good girl, and mate is Border Collie. Border Collie are a good breed of dog, and she has to work without too much noise. We want little noise because up on the high country, sheep graze for about 6 months. No one rounds them up, and you go with noisy dog, it frightens the sheep. The sheep run and can fall on that steep country, injuring themselves. But we're going to first not worry so much about that. Let's move up the road and bring in some Scottish Highland cattle. Come on. A Highlander is a very hardy breed. It is good foraging and produces an excellent low-fat beef. Hold! Take him up! Take him up here! I want him right up! Bring him up! Come back! The Highlander, ladies and gentlemen, a good animal for our country. They like the rough food, but it's interesting to note it's the female that have the horns that are way up in the air. The female have the largest horns, And this means the female are the horniest. Please. Sometimes I have to run it past twice to get that. Hold! Take him up! Get him! Hey! Hold! We're going to bring him in a wee bit closer yet, ladies and gentlemen. And those of you who are afraid, hold!
Well, Betty, I bet you don't see one of these in your backyard every day.
No, it looks like a woolly mammoth, you know, from up in Alaska that were frozen for, I don't know, the old ones.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, they sure got good fur coats.
They do. They sure do.
They are interesting looking, aren't they, though? They really are. That's something. And it's interesting to see the sheepdog working him. You know, I mean, he keeps giving commands to the dog, you know, stop or halt or
and
go.
They do, you know. They really do mind. I thought that was good.
Well, like you say, you know, a sheepdog that is trained, a real good one, you know, can be upwards of $3,000.
Worth their money.
So that's a lot of bucks, I'll tell you. And the work that you see that they do, they're certainly worth it, I'll tell you that.
I enjoyed this man a lot. He was very articulate.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. We learned an awful lot from him.
A breed for the very cold conditions. The long, shaggy fur is a great insulator for them. And in snow, their large horns can knock the snow off their food. So survival is very good. But the fur can be used for spinning. You can make fibre from it, and the whole skin can make a wonderful rug or mat. But if you do use it as a rug or mat, you must take the meat out first. I'm going, ladies and gentlemen, to get Robbie. That's not Robbie. That's not Robbie. Now this is Robbie. This is Robbie. Who's going to sit on Robbie's back? Who's going to come up and sit on Robbie's back? Good on you, sir.
Oh, you must be very gentle.
There you
go. Well, there's Edsel. He got up on top of that little guy, or that big guy, I guess we should say, huh?
Yeah, he sure did. He was a good sport.
Yeah, wanted to get his picture taken. I think a lot of people were doing that. I'll tell you, these animals are really...
What about that ring in their nose?
That keeps them under pretty good control, evidently.
Now, there goes you-know-who.
Yeah,
she's got to do
huh?
her thing, too, you know. You can't let everybody else do something without
pull your
me.
skirts down
Pulling
there,
my
Betty.
skirt down, this modesty.
Oh, goodness sakes.
That didn't last very long.
Well, that was a good experience. At least we got it on camera, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was something. He's explaining that ring in the nose really does control him, I'll tell you. You know, there are other areas around the ranch here that we're going to take a look at, and in our next program we'll even see some more things that are going to be interesting.
Ginkgo biloba, Icho. Icho, Gino. The ginkgo, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the oldest known trees to mankind, and the leaves have no veins in them. They just grow up, they're fossilized, and they've carbon-dated fossilized leaves 100 million years old. So it's one of the oldest known trees to mankind. The hedge behind is holly, hiragi. This tall tree up here, ladies and gentlemen, Texas Baccata fastica, Irish yew tree, Japanese bonsai.
I think he's quite proficient in Japanese as well. The Japanese tourists were getting a big kick out of the bonsai tree, he said. Well, Betty, that just about wraps it up on this adventure. Next time when we come back, we're going to see more of this beautiful ranch and also inside the ranch house. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.